What's happening, everybody? Sam here for Real Reds Talk. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here with a bit of breaking news. Erik Ten Hag is set to leave this summer. That's according to Marzio, who's an Italian journalist. We'll get into all the details and stuff like that shortly. There's also a bit on the agenda about Marzio Pochettino possibly being linked to United, which of course there is. There's also talk of goals of the season in terms of the Premier League, and I think there's 3 United players who are nominated for that. Also, a big bit of news on Dan Ashworth, leaked emails, drama, soap opera type stuff. So we'll get into that as well. And everything else, there's a couple of other things I'll put on the docket as well if we've got time. But the first thing is, let's get into that big news that's popped off from Marzio today. This was about an hour ago, so yeah, it's fairly recent. Breaking news: at the end of the season, Manchester United will say goodbye to Erik Ten Hag. It is certain they will be saying goodbye to him. That is Marzio, who maybe 10, 12 years ago was like a tier 1 journalist and was breaking stories and was like proper on the scene and making himself known in terms of like making breaking stories nobody else was. He was kind of like a Romano or Ornstein that you have today. So, but he's not really been that guy for a long time. So it's interesting to see him break a story like this. So the kind of validity of it and the reliability is like, I'm not sure on it, man. I'm really, really not sure of it. But put your thoughts in the comments in the chat and let me know how you feel, and I'll read them out and we'll get into a little bit of discussion. So this was via GIFM. What's this? Get Italian Football News. So I don't know if he was on a podcast or he was on a show or he writes for them. I'm not sure how it works, but this is where the sources come from. So yeah, I'm not sure that the validity. I'm not sure of the reliability. I don't know how much you can believe what he says, but judging on how everybody else has jumped on it, people are seemingly taking it fairly seriously, and people are seeming to be like, it's a possibility, and it's just the worst timing in the world, isn't it? Like, less than a week out from a cup final against Manchester City. It's just the worst timing in the world, absolutely the worst timing in the world. So I don't know if a game's being played here. I don't know if certain agents have spoken to him in terms of like Tuchel's manager or De Zerbi's, etc. I don't know where this has come from or if it has any legs at all, but it's all over the internet right now, so I kind of have to talk about it. Fabrizio Romano sort of retorted to it. He put a little video out basically saying that the situation with Erik Ten Hag is fluid and it's constantly changing and no set decision has yet been made, and anything that will be made after the cup final, which makes me think that most of these newspapers are just guessing at things and going on probability and likeliness of it. So I'm not sure where we can take this. If he's definitely going, I don't know. Is he definitely staying? I'd like to think so, but let's find out. He sort of added onto that as well with a little bit sort of more stuff. Kieran McKenna, who is Ipswich's manager to back-to-back promotions, obviously worked with Ollie at Manchester United as well. Kieran McKenna is Brighton's #1 target, but has already spoken to Manchester United. If he goes to Chelsea, United will go from Marzio Pochettino. So hold that thought, Pochettino. I will get into that as well, because that is on the agenda. Manchester United targets are Kieran McKenna and Marzio Pochettino. De Zerbi is also on the list, but he has not been in contact with United in recent days. Kieran McKenna is likely to reject a new contract from Ipswich Town. The manager feels it's the right time to move. Manchester United are considering McKenna if they decide to sack Erik Ten Hag, while Brighton and Chelsea are also interested in Ipswich spots. But that's from the BBC, that one. So they haven't come out and said Ten Hag is definitely losing his role, but they have sort of said that United are looking at other candidates and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think. Thoughts? Do you believe this? Do you think it has any sort of reliability and stuff like that? Do you want this to happen? Do you not want this to happen? Let's read out a couple of comments. Dino Lewis, shout out to Dino. Hope this ain't true, mate. Yeah, same. Vince Bullock, funniest thing is I went to Carrington on Saturday. The manager did not show up for a meet and greet us. Maybe he was busy, mate. Maybe he had like stuff to do or meetings and stuff like that. But I'm glad you got to go to Carrington and meet players, man. That's really cool. UTFR, a bit late. Has De Zerbi worked with Ashworth? I think Ashworth left before De Zerbi came in. I think Ashworth was there when Potter was there, and Potter left for Chelsea, and I think then Ashworth went I think the timing's right on that. I might be wrong. Somebody correct me in the chat. Lucky Singh, what bullshit news are coming up with now? Yeah, it's interesting. Vince Bolt, remember we sacked a Dutch manager, I think he was to say, a few years ago, straight after the FA Cup final. Yeah, I didn't like the way that went down, man. That was everybody knew as well beforehand, so I didn't like that at all. But yeah, that is the breaking news on Erik Ten Hag. My personal opinion, I'm not inclined to believe it, just because Marzio doesn't have a track record of sort of breaking major stories like this, or breaking stuff that turns out to be actually true. I know they have a footing in Italian football, and I don't follow Italian football anymore, but I did back in the day, and I know they had a sort of big in with players and managers and things that were going on within the Serie A. So I know they have sort of credibility there, but in terms of English Premier League and stories like that, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Just let me have a sip of tea. So yeah, that was. I hope he doesn't go. I hope he gets given time underneath this new structure with Ineos and Dan Ashworth, who we will get into in a minute with all that shit popping off. Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, a new structure, director of football, all that sort of stuff, which he didn't have last summer. He was basically on his own because John Merton and Richard Arnold are about as useless as two ferrets in a wet paper bag. Like, it's not going to do anything for him. So he basically had to just pick players that he knew and trusted to get in and get his feet under the table and get some credibility and some credit in the bank to then go forward with his system and his style of play. But obviously it's not worked out this season. Various different things, injuries, stubbornness, all that sort of stuff, which we can get into another time. But I think, yeah, I would prefer him to have some time. And if they're going to give him some time, they have to back him. And it's basically come to a point now that they either back him and give him a new contract, which shows, because you don't want a manager that you're building a project with to go into their final year of their contract, and you want him to build a style and set something up, and then you're going to let him go at the end of the contract anyway. Seems a bit weird to me. So if they're going to sack him, sack him. If they're going to back him, then give him the new contract. And I would give him the new contract and give him an opportunity, even if it's just a 1-year extension. Like, I would give him the opportunity next season, but I'm sure we'll find out what happens in the coming weeks, maybe even after the FA Cup final. Let's have a look in the comments. Excuse me. Lucky Singh, Ten Hag in, Pochettino in. I don't know if you could do both, but fair enough. UTFR, I want Erik to have a chance under a real structure. I'm Erik Tag in. I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. I've got a poll in the chat. If Ten Hag was to leave this summer, who would you hire? So Tuchel's on there, Poch is on there, De Zerbi's on there, McKenna's on there. So I will reveal the results of that poll because you're still voting on it at the end of the show. So do keep, if you're coming in and you're joining, make sure you're voting that. Dino Lewis, Ineos should come out and just say what's going to happen, show some real leadership. I agree with that. I think they will just after the cup final. I think once the cup final's done, they will come out and they'll say thank you to Erik Ten Hag for the season, blah, 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 and let him go. Or we believe in this manager, we believe in this project, and we're offering him the new deal under these terms, blah, 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 and these targets that he has to hit, that kind of stuff. So I think that's what will happen after the FA Cup final. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Should we move on to the Dan Ashworth stuff? Because that's just become like a soap opera almost, hasn't it? It's just absolutely ridiculous. So news broke yesterday when we were doing the season review with the awards. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's a really good show. It's about an hour long, and we vote on player of the season, best goal, best moment, worst moment, biggest disappointment, all that good stuff. Go check that out. It's a really fun show, and all the lads, most of us were on that. So me, Chivy, Shreyas, Nick, go check that out. It's really, really good. Macmillan, YouTube, believing Marzio's, believing Santa is the two fairies dressed as the Easter Bunny. He hasn't a Scooby. There you go. There you go. Yeah, so from the Times, which was yesterday, while we were live, this one broke. An email that Dan Ashworth sent to himself about being approached to Manchester United could be crucial in the forthcoming arbitration against his former club, Newcastle United. Man United so far have offered $2.5 million in compensation for Dan Ashworth. The clubs remain some distance apart on the figure. And then I did have the, where's the info about the email? There we go. Dan Ashworth and Owen Brad had a conversation in early February, and Ashworth followed it up by sending an email to Brad and making clear he wanted to join Manchester United. However, Ashworth sent a copy to his own Newcastle email, idiot, clumsily disclosing to the club the negotiations they had with Barada. That's just amateur behaviour there, isn't it? Dan Ashworth also disclosed the details of the agreement between Newcastle and Brighton that took into St James's Park in the summer of 2022. This would likely be a breach of confidentiality to each of Newcastle and Brighton, so just gets fucking worse, doesn't it? And just absolute ridiculous. It's never the easy with United, is it? It's always drama. There's always a fucking hiccup. There's always a major fucking thing that we have to deal with, whether it's money, whether it's pain in the ass agents, whether it's just board members. It's just a fucking nightmare. And then, yeah, I just wanted to get... So then something broke today. So this was from Luke Edwards in The Telegraph. Dan Ashworth attempted to force Newcastle United to let him out of his lengthy gardening leave early so that he could start work at Manchester United, and will argue he was sacked from the club rather than resigning. It's interesting. Dan Ashworth believes his departure from Newcastle gives him grounds to argue the gardening leave is null and void as things were not handled correctly before his departure. In effect, his argument ahead of arbitration is that he was not asked to formally write down his resignation by Chief Executive Darren Ealesland should not have been placed on garden leave until he did so. He will therefore argue he's removed from his position rather than asking to step down. And in the final bit, Newcastle is said to be astounded by the attempt to get out of his contracted garden leave and will contest at arbitration, insisting that they have every right to prevent Ashworth starting work at Manchester United until late 2025 unless compensation can be agreed. So yeah, it's messy, it's complicated, and it's just drama, unnecessary drama that we don't need at Manchester United, which always seems to come with the territory no matter what we do, whether it's takeovers that take a year and a bit and it wasn't even a takeover in the end, whether it's transfers like Jadon Sancho where it took 2 years to fucking get that deal over the line and it didn't even work out anyway. So yeah, it always seems to be a bit of drama with Manchester United. I think basically what they're saying is he sent an email to his Newcastle email from his personal when he was having conversations with Barada, who is supposed to be on gardening leave as well, but is clearly still chatting and organising things and getting things in play, which I think we all suspected, to be honest with you, but it's now actually a reality. He sent that, and he sent that to his Newcastle email. I'd only have to assume for some sort of, he was planning to resign or he's planning to bring it up to the chairman at Newcastle, and he's now argued that he didn't actually hand in his resignation. He was instead just put on gardening leave without being asked to hand in his resignation. So Newcastle have not done it by the book. They have just placed him on gardening leave without accepting a resignation, which is supposed to be the correct procedure and how you're supposed to do things. So he's now arguing that the gardening leave isn't enforceable and it's null and void because they didn't accept a resignation, which means he shouldn't have been on gardening leave in the first place, and he has technically been let go. So he should be able to start at Manchester United immediately rather than serve this long-term gardening leave, and therefore you wouldn't have to give Newcastle any compensation either because he would technically have been fired for all intents and purposes. So yeah, it's getting messy, man. It's getting really, really messy, and it might be the saga of the summer, really, for Manchester United. Like, every summer we seem to have one. Last year it was it Frankie de Jong last year? Or was it the year before? Either way, like, Frankie de Jong was one where it was going on for, like, was it 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks? We were dragging out. There was a couple of journalists who was like, it's 90% done, it's definitely happening, blah, blah, and then it didn't happen. And we ended up not getting him and then pivoting to Casemiro. And while he was great in the first year, he's sort of taken a decline this year, hasn't he? And it's not worked out. So I think it's going to drag on, man. It's definitely going to drag on. I think Newcastle are they're not doing this because they feel the valuation for Dan Ashworth is fair. Is it 20 million? I think they're doing this because they want to make it harder for Manchester United, because obviously they see us as a rival. They see us as a potential contender to those European spots, whether that's the Champions League or Europa League. They're in a similar position to us. They finished above us, didn't they, as well this year? So I think they see us as a rival, so they want to make our job as hard as possible to make sure we don't succeed. And if they can drag their heels on this and demand 20 million, or even get 10 million out of the deal when United are offering 2.5. There, United normally crumble when it comes to negotiations. We've done it with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We did it with Harry Maguire. I'm sure we've done it. There's multiple other transfers, and I think they're trying to basically fleece us of money and make it as difficult as possible. One of the two, maybe both. And I think Ineos are trying to draw a line in the sand straight away, and like, we're not going to overpay for people, whether that's talent in the pitch or whether that's talent in the sort of boardroom and places like that. I think they have to start somewhere, and if it means he has to serve his notice for a year and a bit, so be it. Then clubs like Newcastle, other clubs that we might have to go in for transfers and different sort of members of staff, they'll know we don't back down from these things, and we'll only pay what's fair. So it might end up with us costing him not being here this summer to organise things and get things going in the summer, but I think we should be okay with Barada starting in July. Wilcox has already started. You've got Sir Dave Brailsford, you've got Jean-Claude Blanc, so you've got experienced heads there. I think we'll be alright, and I think we'll be able to operate in the market effectively with or without Dan Ashworth, but obviously it'd be nice for him to be here, but it is what it is at the minute. So I think we've just got to sort of wait and see what happens with the arbitration, or if United can discuss a deal with Newcastle at some point to see if they can agree on a lower compensation fee. So we offer 2.5, they want 20, so maybe we can find somewhere in the middle. I don't know. Got to touch on the next story in a minute, which is the goal of the season contenders. I will get into them in a minute. I'm just going to read a couple of comments. Shrindi, Ineos is stupid. I mean, give them a chance, mate. They're not even started yet. Shrindi, again, keep sacking managers, don't sell players. Great work. It's just rumours in a minute, mate. And I think we'll see a lot of players leave this summer. Matt Millen, Newcastle think they're dealing with the Glazers and will crumble yet, so have some brains and knowing the charge football inside. Exactly. That's what I was saying. UTFR, well done on 5k. Appreciate it, mate. You guys in the chat and people watching later, you guys are the reason for why that's happened. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Right. Bit positive news. Let me open this up. Goal of the season for the Premier League. So I think there's 3 United goals that have been nominated for goal of the season. So the Bruno volley versus Burnley with the fantastic pass from Johnny Evans, like stunning assist. I think I should get assist of the season, to be honest. But yeah, really good goal. The Kobe Mainoo goal against Wolves, the last minute winner, where he just does about 4 players and then bends it around the keeper and puts it in the net. Fucking absolute fantastic goal. The Marcus Rashford goal against City, absolute fucking rocket from outside the box. He always scores against City, always seems to show up in big games, and like he's absolutely just smashed it into the top. I think it hits off the bar as well, I believe. Just absolutely smashes it. Obviously, we ended up losing, unfortunately, but I think what a fucking goal. And then the final one, which I think should just win goal of the season. Alejandro Garnacho bicycle kick against Everton. It's been nominated for Premier League goal of the season. I think technical brilliance is absolutely stunning. I think obviously the Rooney one was a great goal as well, but I think technical, the way he hits it and the way he throws himself and the fact that the ball's coming over, I think the Garnacho one is a technical better goal, but obviously the Rooney one means more because it was against City, and I think so. Yeah, I think Garnacho should win it, man, by far. I don't think anything comes close to that sort of ability, that technical ability. Absolute phenomenal goal. I watch it all the time as well. I go find it on YouTube. It's absolutely fantastic goal. So yeah, go check that out. It's absolutely gorgeous goal. Let's move on to the next story. Pochettino. So obviously, Mauricio Pochettino lost his job. Let me just have a quick sip. Apologies. Mauricio Pochettino, shockingly, lost his job at Chelsea yesterday. Again, while we were live, all this shit seems to break live while we're doing a show. It was by mutual consent. He released a statement saying the team's in a good place now, etc. So they must have had a disagreement, whether that's on transfer policy, tactics, players out, players in, people he wanted to keep, people he didn't want to keep. I'm not sure. We'll probably not find out for a while, if ever. So really shock decision by Chelsea, who they make some bonehead decisions, but this is up there. This is a are really stupid, because he actually got them playing well towards the end of the season. They finished above us. So, yeah, interesting. So this is from Matt Law in the Telegraph. Mauricio Pochettino is likely to be of interest to Manchester United if the Old Trafford club sack Erik ten Hag after the FA Cup final. Mauricio Pochettino is interested in talking to Manchester United. That's from Charlie Dunker. And then there was another one as well. Let me just get this up. Obviously, he was linked when we let go of Ollie, and we had Ragnick, and we were being linked with Ten Hag and Pochettino. It was like Ten Hag versus Pochettino, Ten Hag versus Pochettino. And Ten Hag ended up getting the job, and then obviously Pochettino ended up at Chelsea eventually. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. It's really interesting that things come back around and he ends up back on the list of things. I'm just trying to find this other bit of the story. I think I've already touched on it when I was speaking about Kieran McKenna. Yeah, I think I already touched it. But yeah, guys, what do you think? If we lost Ten Hag, Pochettino, would you take him? I'm sure there's still people who were pro Pochettino at the time before Ten Hag got the role. I'm sure there's still people there who like him as a manager, who think he would do bits at Manchester United. He seemed to have finally got Chelsea going, seemed to have finally got them on the road to sort of clicking together. He was getting players back in Nkunku and stuff like that. He got Nicola Jackson scoring goals. So I think he could be an interesting pickup. Bayern need a manager desperately. Absolutely desperately for a manager. Everybody keeps turning them down. I'm sure there's a reason behind that. Like, there's things going on behind the scenes in the board. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle this going forward. United, like, Pochettino's available. Obviously, De Zerbi's available. But there's a rumour that he's agreed a deal with a club compensation, but it's being kept confidential, which is why it was so sudden from Brighton. So, yeah, interesting. The Barcelona job could be available. Xavi's falling out with Barca again. Liverpool have obviously hired Arne Slot. So there's a lot of managerial merry-go-round. I think Thiago Motta's of interest to Juventus. Inzaghi's obviously of interest for a lot of teams. There's a lot of managerial merry-go-round, so we can see a lot of changes this summer in terms of like European managers especially. But for me, I think Pochettino's a good manager. I don't think he has anything over Ten Hag where he's particularly better than him in any way, in terms of his fucking ability to coach, in terms of the trophies he's won, in terms of how he integrates youth players. I think they're all pretty on a keel there. If Ten Hag's maybe not a little bit better. Obviously, Ten Hag won the Dutch League and the Dutch Cup, and then got to a Champions League semi-final. Pochettino lost the first French league to, was it Lille or was it Lille, and then obviously didn't manage to get to the Champions League and win that either. So, but yeah, then he won a French title shortly afterwards. So I think it's interesting, man. Like I just don't think. Yeah, I know Chivy. I don't know why that came in my head. I don't know why that's. My head just went sideways. I think it was because I read It's Sam bit in the thing. He said, all I wanted to celebrate is a fucking, and the list of coaches is a little uninspiring. So I think that's what I read, and that set me off. It set me sideways. But yeah, thanks for pointing out, Chivy. Makes me feel better. Yeah, what do you think, guys? Pochettino, yes, no? How we feel about him? Do we like him? Would we take him? Would he be better than Ten Hag? Would he be a more effective coach? Would we be able to get more out of the current players we have? Would he be able to work on the Ineos system? I think it's interesting. I've just seen an Athletic article. It's just posted now. So apparently the reason Pochettino and Chelsea parted ways was concern over the club imposed structure, initial doubts over the 221 million Caicedo-Fernandes pairing, owner's desire for a coach who teaches football, training methods, and injury record. Interesting. I'll have to read that article later. But yeah, final story. Let me just pull this up where I'm at. I'm over here. Let's pull that one over. So, Chivy's in the chat. Huge gamble with Poch, but if he's the only option and taking him, fair enough. Rajat said none. Not sure. Lucky Singh said Ten Hag or Pochettino for me. Lucky Singh, we are a massive club. Dino Lewis Garnacho shall win the Puskas award as well. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Shrindi, we should keep Erik Ten Hag at all costs. Dino Lewis, give Erik Ten to the end of his next contract next season. Decide what's the most logical. It's Sam, celebrate winning the title. I got you. Yeah, so Marcus Rashford story. Oh, sorry, Raja, get Zidane or Enrique for me. I don't want Zidane. Zidane is not the guy for a rebuild when you're trying to get so many players out the door, coach the current players, get them up to standard. He's a superstar manager. He'll manage PSG, Real Madrid. That's when his team is ready for him to just come in and just do stuff. It's not the guy for a rebuild. It's just not the guy for a rebuild. Marcus Rashford. So Oliver Kay in The Athletic has wrote an article on Marcus Rashford's absolute dismal season that he's had this year. And he's touched on a couple of things that I thought were interesting, and I imagine a lot of people in the comments, a lot of people on our Instagram are leaving Trashford comments and stuff like that, which I don't think is necessary, but the article was interesting anyway, and I wanted to bring it to you guys. 21 people in chat, thank you so much. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give some memberships out, so let's give some memberships out. Thank you everybody in the chat, I appreciate you. So there's some memberships. Rajat, Wilson, Alexander and Tommy, thank you for your support. My Damned United, thank you for your support. There's all your memberships. It gives it out randomly. I don't get to pick it, unfortunately, otherwise I would give people a thing. But thank you so much. Appreciate the support and enjoy the memberships. There's some content on there that you don't get on the main channel that we're on now, and there's content that you get earlier as well before everybody else. So with the After Dark podcast, there was the Varane thing that we put out today, went out 2-3 days earlier, so you get access stuff early, and you get stuff that's just exclusive as well, stories as well. And yeah, so check that out, go check that. And if you feel like re-upping it next month, we'd appreciate it. All the stuff goes back into the channel, all the stuff goes back into us and helps maintain it, because this shit ain't free, this equipment ain't free, Canva, all the different stuff we use, the Zoom, it's not free, it's out of our own pocket. So any little support that you can give us, we appreciate it. So yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, Marcus Rashford. Ten Hag has been frustrated by Marcus Rashford's lack of conviction and consistency with the ball, including areas where he was excelling last season, and by a perceived lack of defensive discipline without it. So that is from The Athletic, an Oliver Kay article. Marcus Rashford has hired a PR advisor, Caroline McAteer, in December, who is best known for helping transform David Beckham's image in the late 1990s and early 2000s in an attempt to change his own persona and in the media and public narrative. So a lot of people will be going against that. I think people will be saying, I can see the comments already, people will be saying, focus on what you're playing on the pitch and your image will improve outside of that. I think me and Chivy have said that a million times. If you get stuff right on the pitch, people are very easily forgiving and let you do whatever the fuck you want outside of it if you're performing on the pitch. So you could go to the nightclubs, you could drive the fast cars, you can do all that sort of stuff, and the stuff that people have an issue with. I don't personally have an issue with it. I don't really give a shit what players do outside of it, unless it affects their performance on the pitch, then it's an issue. So I think if he just focused on his time on the pitch and got his head right and got playing well, I think all that stuff, other stuff would melt away and people wouldn't be arsed with it. But modern day players and modern day celebrities, they hire PR consultants to improve their image, because most people, you only get one chance at a first impression, and then most people stick with it for the rest of the time, especially with footballers. Like if you have a shit season, then you just shit forever. Like it happens quite a lot. Like Onana, awful at the beginning of the season, cost the Champions League, and then people still giving him pelters despite the fact that he's playing well, making important saves, and he's improved tremendously, but people are still just going to label him shit. And he's probably going to have that label for the rest of the time unless he wins something with us. The article continues. Some fans have accused him of settling into a comfort zone after signing his contract, $350k a week contract. But it's been one of those modern day United campaigns where nothing and nobody looks right, which is true. By the halfway stage, Rashford has had 2 Premier League goals. He was performing miserably and attracting a lot of criticism. I think the criticism he gets on the pitch is fine. I think he deserves criticism on the pitch. Like, he's played terribly. His passing, his ability to score goals, his decision making, his attitude on the pitch, like throwing his arms up and stuff like that. It's been terrible. Like, he's been awful, and I think that shouldn't be beyond criticism. I don't think that's abuse. I don't think that's we shouldn't be that. As fans, we should be entitled to criticise him that way. I think when it goes too far is when people start attacking him. Oh, he drives this flash car and he gets all these tattoos. I don't think any of that shit matters. Like, that doesn't matter. What he does on the pitch matters. Like, that's what matters. So I think we need to focus on that, and we need to focus on what he plays on the pitch. Obviously, people read into things. Like, if somebody plays a really great season and then we offer him a 350k 5-year deal, and then he suddenly just doesn't perform well, a lot of people are going to read that and go, yeah, he's got his money now. He's not arsed anymore, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it for the love of the game. He's got his big money, and he's just going to sit it out and coast for the rest of the time, which could well be true. I don't think so myself personally, but I think something's going on in his life, whether that's his personal life, whether that's in his family or mental health. I'm not sure. Like, footballers are human beings, as Chivy tells us all the time. I think you have to find out what's going on outside of football that is clearly affecting his game, because if you can fix that, then I think you get the player back to the player that you need. And I think Rashford is also one of those players that he plays well when the team's performing well. Like, he's not one of these guys who grabs it by the scruff of the neck and drags the team through, like a Bruno, like a Alessandro Martinez, like a Ronaldo did with Portugal and stuff. And he's not one of those guys. Like, he functions well within a unit that's working well. Like, when the unit's working well, which United haven't at all this season, he suffers, and he suffers badly, and we've seen that. And I think that's what he is. I think a lot of people are expecting him to be an Mbappe type, a Eden Hazard type, or someone like that who just goes, right, it's on me, and I'm just going to absolutely destroy this team, or I'm going to take it on myself and score a goal. He's not that guy. Like, he sometimes show up in big games, but when it comes to like smaller teams or like grinding it out, he's not that guy. So I think we have to sort of realise that, and I think if we can get the team functioning well, I think he can be a part of that. But he also needs to realise that his performance needs to be better for him to get back in this team. So that's kind of where I'm at with Rashford. If a big offer came in the summer, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I just don't think anybody's going to pay his wages, to be honest with you, like 350k a week. Final bit of this article. Rashford has said he finds it hard to trust people. He's kept a relatively small team of people around him, as well as his mother, a couple of childhood friends, including his older brothers, who are in control of his management team. So yeah, he's insulated himself, which I suppose in this business is probably a good idea. Like, I think a lot of people are afraid of having people take advantage of them, even family members at times, but people who are not in their inner circle taking money. They earn a lot of money, obviously, they've got a lot of influence, people want to take advantage of that. So I think it's interesting. But yeah, get your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about Rashford? Should we sell him? Is it the contract? Is there things going on outside of it? Do you think he's lost some sort of ability? Is he a form player? Let us know in the comments. I'll read a couple of them out. Let me just see what's going on in the comments. It looks like Fonseca is probably going to Milan AC, so we're not getting him in. I didn't think we'd ever go for him, to be honest with you. Rajat, nice, appreciate that. What a legend. No worries, mate. Enjoy that. Dino, legend, mate. No worries, Dino. We appreciate your support, lad. Get me to Debo. Bournemouth midfielder, you mean Xerxes, I think. Monaco midfielder Fofana. And Ten Hag, ideally. That's from Lucky Singh. Rashford needs to leave United. That's from It's Sam. People act like it's black or white only. He has to improve, definitely. I agree with that. Not very excited by the FA Cup game. Would you take Roberto Mancini? I don't think he'd be accepted by the fans. I think fans would turn on him immediately. He's been at City. I just don't think it would go well. I don't see that happening. And who's he managing now? Qatar? Is it out in Qatar? He's doing something, isn't he, out in the Middle East? Chivy, I'm always wary of big contracts derailing players. We saw it with Rooney, Henry, Aubameyang, Salah, and now Rashford. Yeah, it does seem to happen, doesn't it? They seem to work extremely hard to get to a certain level, and then they get offered the big deal, which may or may not deserve. Sometimes they deserve it, sometimes they don't. And then they seem to just tail off in terms of form and in terms of being able to provide what they were providing before they got the contract. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, you would have to perform 2-3 seasons at the top level before you got a contract like that. That's what I would do personally. I don't think you can reward a season, because sometimes you can have a lucky season where it all happens for you and it all clicks into place. We've seen that before. Like if you take a player like, remember Michu, played for Swansea. I think he scored like 20. What did he score? Let me Google this. Michu, Swansea. See, I want to get this right. How many goals did he score? Transfer marks. Let's have a look. Premier League. No, I want particular season. No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, for God's sake. Alright, anyway, in the Premier League, he scored 20 goals, 5 assists. So, he had a decent season that he came out. I think, where did he come from? Napoli, yeah. Rayo Vallecano to Swansea. So yeah, Rayo Vallecano to Swansea, out of nowhere, 6 million, and he scored 20 goals. And everybody was like, this guy's great. And then next season, absolutely nosedive, didn't happen for him. So I think we've got to be wary of like one seasons like that. I don't think it's a great idea to offer massive contracts based off of one season, but it's happened. It's happened, like Chivi said, it's happened to Rooney, it's happened to Henry, happened to Salah, and now it's happening with Rashford. So it's definitely something to think about. I don't know how Nick talks for this long. My voice is going to be fucked tomorrow. I'm glad I've not got any calls, but yeah. There's a little bit of news I've just seen. Mason Mount, Anthony Martial, Victor Lindelof are back in training ahead of the FA Cup final. That's in the Daily Mail, so at least we've got some sort of players that would be available on the bench, because our bench the last couple of weeks have looked horrendously bad. Like, I think there was a time it was like Anthony Eriksson and then like 8 16-year-olds who've never played for Manchester United first team before. It's just, yeah, really downbeat, like looking at that bench. But yeah, guys, let's have a look at the poll. I put a poll up earlier, like when we started the show. If Ten Hag does leave this summer, who would you hire? 24% have gone for Thomas Tuchel, 15% for Mauricio Pochettino, 39% for Roberto De Zerbi, and then 21% for Kieran McKenna. So yeah, there you go. There's people who vote. The people have spoken. They want De Zerbi by a 15% margin over Thomas Tuchel. Let us know in the comments if you're watching this on demand, who you would pick. Put it in the comments. Let us know why. I'd always love to be interested in why people want certain managers. And then put your thoughts on the Erik Ten Hag news that we sort of put up at the beginning. If you missed it, I'll just go through it again, just so you haven't missed anything. Marzio. So this was from Marzio about 3-4 o'clock today. At the end of the season, Manchester United will say goodbye to Erik Ten Hag. It is certain they will be saying goodbye to them. That's from Marzio via Get Italian Football Network. I think it's a podcast or it's a YouTube show, I think. But yeah, that is the breaking news. That's the reason why we went live today. I scrolled back for all the stuff on Ashworth and Rashford. I put them together there. Again, my mind is just melted because I've had a full day's of work and then this is broke and I've had to get online and I've got nobody to bounce off, so I'm not great by myself and hosting these things. I'm awful at it, so my brain's all over the place. Also, the UK has just announced a general election, so the Tory scum is finally going. I'm well happy about that. So yeah, can't wait for that in July. Get rid of these absolute cockwombles who are just pissing the country away. So I can't wait for that. A few last comments before we go. Adam Saunders, how much control over transfers do you think the next manager will get? Because I think Poch will want full control. Yeah, that seemed to be a sticking point with Chelsea. I think Ineos want to operate the way Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been mentioning it. Like he said in interviews, we pick the style of football. We want a head coach to coach the team, make sure the team selection's ready, bring it out there, and then they want to provide the players and provide the style and the philosophy that they want to implement onto the team. That seems to be the way they want to do it. That seems to be the way most modern teams now operate. Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Brighton. So United as well. And I think certain managers are not happy with relinquishing that amount of control and just being a purely tracksuit manager on the training pitch. So Pochettino does seem like one of those guys who wants a bit more control. So yeah, it could be a clash if he came to United, and I think it might be an issue with Erik Ten Hag as well, because he has had a lot of power and a lot of control before Ineos came in, and then a lot of that's going to be stripped away, I imagine, before the summer comes. So it'll be interesting. Great Sheridan, can we not have just one day of no rumours? Our club is a circus. Media want to cause trouble. It's United, Grace. That's what happens. You put something and then you put United after it. It means clicks. It means people watch it. It means people will subscribe to it. People will read it. It's just how it is, man. Like, it's just how it is. Like, you just have to accept it that if you put something and put City in it, not many people are reading it. If you put something and put Liverpool in it, maybe some people read it. If you put something and then put United in it, 99% of people are going to click on it, because whether they hate United because we ruined their childhoods, or whether they love United because they're United fans like all of us who are on this channel, or because United are just an absolute juggernaut in terms of like popularity, in terms of a institution, in terms of commercial identity. It just sells papers, it sells clicks, it gets advertising revenue. It's just, that's what happens. So it's just the way it is, and it's probably forever going to be that way unless we cease to exist as a club. It's just all the way it's going to be. Don't watch the final, don't be on live stream at PIG on Saturday. Not sure what that means. Fair enough. Poch sacked by Chelsea 1 hour later. He wants the United job. Of course he does. Everybody wants the United job. Like, if you know the job is potentially available, you're going to put your name in the hat, aren't you? You're going to get your agent to call up United and be like, oh, my client will be available, he'd be interested, blah, blah, blah. Tuchel will be doing the same thing. I imagine De Zerbi will be doing the same thing. I imagine Kieran McKenna would not turn it down. Like, if you're a manager and you're somewhat capable and somewhat decent, you'll be throwing your hat in the ring for sure. Like, if I had any sort of managerial experience, I'd be like, yes, please, I'll go to United. But they're not hiring idiots on YouTube, like, so it's not a thing, is it? Adam Saunders, I love De Zerbi, but I think they'll go for Poch because they interviewed him for the niche job. For the nice job? Niche job? Did he interview him for the niche job? Interesting. I know the Nice manager has gone to Ajax now, hasn't he? They've signed him to a contract, so that'd be interesting. It's that Nice thing. Maybe Potter goes there, because I know they wanted him previously, so maybe Potter goes to Nice, and then that's a trial for the United job. Manluata, does Erik Ten Hag want out himself? Not sure. I'm sure he's not happy with all the speculation. I'm sure he'd love Ineos to come out and just be like, back me or sack me. Like, let me know what's happening so I can work out what my next step is. I'm sure he'd love to see that, but obviously they're not doing that at the minute. But I'm not sure what he wants. Yeah, I'm sure we won't know until he leaves the club. So, or if he does leave the club. Grace Sharon, what do you want? I want Ten Hag to stay. I want him to be given an opportunity under this new structure, but if he's going to stay, you obviously have to back him with a new contract, because you can't let a manager go into the final year of his deal and try and implement a style and try and implement a system. It's just not, it's not a good thing to have. Charlie Mammon, there's a rumour Erik Ten Hag wants a new contract. If he does not get it, he will walk. Could be. Like I just mentioned, you can't just be like, oh yeah, you're in your final year deal. If you does well, then we'll see what happens, because the manager's just going to go, right, I just need to do enough to keep my job and get a new contract. Whereas what we want him to do is trying to implement a style of play and developing players and building a foundation. You can't do that during the last year of the deal and they don't know if they have a job at the end of the season. Like, it's just not, it's not the way to go. Like, you need security and you need philosophy and you need to build things. You can't do that in the final year. Like, if they're gonna back him, give him the contract. If they're not, let him go. It has to be as simple as that. Jordan Purcell, big up, I'm new here. Welcome, Jordan. Appreciate your support, mate. Hope you subscribed and you're following all the socials, which are that way underneath there. Yeah, any other questions, guys? If not, I will jump off. There's still 16 people in the chat. Appreciate all the support. I hope you've all subscribed. Nick put on the channel a previous Real Reds Ultra video, which is 5 replacements for Varane. Obviously, Varane's leaving this summer, so go check that out. That went out at 12 o'clock today, so please go check that out. It's a really, really good video, and it was previously a members video, but we released it for you guys because Nick lost his voice this afternoon, so we weren't able to do this new show that we're doing now, so we're doing anything. Jordan, you got Discord? Not yet, my friend. We are going to possibly implement it when the channel gets a bit bigger. I think we're going to put in a Discord channel for all you guys to come in and chat, but thank you for the idea. We will be thinking about it. Gray Sheridan, I think they'll just keep him, trying to remove some of his power from his contract. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I think they will want to remove some sort of control that he has previously had under the other regime, but who knows until summer. I think everything's up in the air. Like Fabrizio Romano said, things are fluid, things change day to day, week to week, and I think they'll continue changing until after the FA Cup final. I think after the FA Cup final, we'll have a more clearer view of how things work and how things are going to operate. Jordan, you live every day and night? Yep. Every day at 12 o'clock, every day at 7 in the evening, and then if something breaks, we'll jump on that as well, and then, on weekends and stuff like that. Latest Chivy, appreciate you dropping in and saying that. Everybody wave goodbye to Chivy. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us. Appreciate all the support, all the chat, all the questions, all the comments. Is always much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. People like Jordan, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Follow all the socials. So we're on Twitter /X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And then subscribe, join the membership if you're interested in getting exclusive content. A little badge next to your name, like Jarvis Cocker is there. Evening all, appreciate you, mate. If you got a little badge to your name, you could get the membership. You get exclusive content, exclusive little news stories, all that sort of stuff. And it costs about £3 a month. And it all goes back into the channel, so it pays for the Zoom thing, so we can get special guests on, like Jay Motti, like Muppeteers, Alice Talks Football, all those people, some journalists from time to time. It also pays for like the Canva thing to create the lovely graphics that you see on your screen now. It all goes back into the channel. Like, this is not a money making enterprise for us. This is like literally just about the love of football and the love of United. So if you want to join us, we'd appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, follow the socials, and we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Appreciate you. Peace.